Got it.
Welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. Everything you need to know about moving to and living in New Zealand.
There's a whole world here.
So nice to be with you again.
We call it Aotearoa around here, bro.
You'll be right.
We are your hosts, Liz and Brian.
Amazing New Zealand in the southern seas.
See, that's where I belong. That's home.
Hello and welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we're going to be talking to you about what to look out for when you rent a house or buy a house in New Zealand.
Yep.
Actually, this is going to be your show, Brian, isn't it? This is all to do with you, Brian.
Well, no, it was the lovely Pricilla over in Long Beach, California, that you're going to hear her voice now because she actually asked this question on our NZ Ahead community. Yeah,
well, before we play Priscilla's voice, before we introduce her to you, let's just give some context to that. Priscilla is part of our private NZ Ahead community Slack group. She bought our Moving to New Zealand guide. It's a membership. You might have heard us talk about it lots of times before, where people help and support each other make the move to New Zealand. It's hosted by me and Bri. It's a fabulous group. And yeah, Pricilla is part of that. And what we encourage within that group is to ask questions. And the other day, much to Brian's delight, you couldn't believe it when she asked this, could you? It was like, I've never seen someone so happy.
Yeah, but the thing is that I'd answered this question quite a long time ago, but kind of like, you know, it was probably 6 months ago, wasn't it? And then I couldn't find the thread that it was on.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I need to rewrite that answer then, don't I? And basically keep it so it's for everyone. And not only that, let's do a podcast about it as well.
So much to Brian's delight, this is the question that came in from the lovely Pricilla, who is a member of the NZ community group.
Hi, I'm Pricilla. I'm from Long Beach, California, and I'm a member of the NZ Ahead Slack community. I'm trying to get a list together of all the questions to ask when looking for rentals. I already know to ask about insulation, for example, double glazed windows, and heating, but does anyone else have suggestions for what to ask?
So, Bri, can you believe that you got that question? And it's a really valid question too, on a serious note, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, because everybody coming to New Zealand is going to need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. If you're emigrating over here, that's one of the main things is like the area that you're going to be living in, you know, and you need to live in something, whether it's an apartment or whether it's a house or whatever.
You do indeed, Bri. You do need to live in something. And yes. The reason that you're so hot on this and you know your stuff, well, you know your stuff anyway, but the reason that you're extra hot on this stuff is because we've just rented our house for 6 months.
Yes.
And unbeknown to me, you were in the background doing all these things that apparently you need by law when you rent your house.
Yes, well, the Healthy Home Act came into force, I think it was this year, that you had to comply. You knew it was coming in, so you had to get ready for it over the last few years. So when we rented the house 5 years ago, we didn't have to comply with that much of the Healthy Home Act. You just had to say that what insulation you had in the walls and in the ceilings and stuff like that. But now you have to have a way to heat the living room. So that's the biggest part of the Healthy Home Act.
I can tell I'm really going to enjoy this podcast, Brian.
Why? Yes. It's just...
See these it's just right up my street, this.
Yeah, there you
knowing
go.
all about the regulations that we need. It was quite funny, actually. Last night we were having dinner and we were talking about this podcast. This question had come in from Priscilla. By the way, if you want to know about joining the NZ Ahead private community group, we'll give you details about that later in the show. So just, if you're new to this podcast, is this your first time and you're thinking, what is this membership they're talking about? Just hang around and we'll tell you about that later on in the show. But yeah, we were having dinner last night and Brian said, I'm going to be telling everyone about the regulations and all the law, what you need. And I said, well, are you sure you know about that though, Brian?
You said, well, we didn't have to comply with that.
We didn't do that though, Brian, did we, when we rented our house? And Brian was like, actually, Liz, I spent weeks getting all this stuff together to make sure that we did comply. So it just goes to show what I know about you, Brian.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like when you come to rent your house, you just think, stick it on the market and away you go. But because of the Healthy Homes Act, you've got to have insulation, you've got to have ventilation, and you've got to have a heating system.
Right. So let me just be clear. The stuff that you're going to tell us now and you're going to answer Priscilla's question. Is this for renting a house or when you buy a house, or is it both?
It's mainly for you as the renter renting a house. That's what the main thing, because most people when they first come to New Zealand will rent a house.
So just to be clear, this is for people who are renting a house in New Zealand and buying a house as well, when they come to buy a house, the things that they should be looking out for.
It's to do when you go to rent a house, then these are the things that you want to look out for. Just make sure that it's tip top and it's up to order for the money that you're spending.
Okay, so take it away then.
Yeah.
Number one, what's the thing I've got to look out for?
First thing is the location.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the location really matters, doesn't it? Because you can drive around in say it's a Monday afternoon and you're looking for a place to rent and you're going to meet the rental agent. So you're looking, where is it we're going to be moving to? As in, is it on a busy road? Is it close to any workshops or any places of work that are noisy in the day or evening? Is it by a train track?
Remember that house we were living in England, and they had that factory that went on all night, didn't it?
What it was just...
But how would you possibly know that unless
that's... But you've got to do your research. Yeah. You've got to do your homework. You've got to go there in the evening, see what the neighbours are like, if there's any parties going on. Is it party central at the weekend? All those sort of things. What sort of noise is going on at night? Because, like I say, we bought a house in the middle of the Somerset countryside, didn't we? At 10 o'clock at night, the quarry started up down the road.
Drove you mad, that, didn't it?
Oh, it's just all you could hear was reversing trucks going beep all night. It was just such an idyllic spot, but not for that.
All right, then. So location, that's a good point. And it is a really good tip, actually, and we always do this, don't we, me and you? Whenever we're renting or buying anywhere, we go and, like a couple of weirdos, park up at midnight outside the house.
Yeah, we just go around at 10 o'clock and walk around the neighbourhood.
Yeah. Because it's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to see, because all the people are at work haven't now come home. So have they got the big widescreen TV on and the surround sound going, and or is it party central on a Friday night? Yes, it's those things. Just look out for it, because, like I say, you can go around in the day and it's nice and quiet, but there might be a workshop that works at night.
Yeah,
a factory or something that you can't quite see, but you can hear for sure. So it's those sort of things. Yeah.
All right. Next point.
Next point, let's go down my list.
Oh, gosh, how big is it?
Big one, water.
Water?
Yeah. Most councils don't charge for water, but if they do, then rates and things and stuff like that are normally paid for by the landlord. But you've got to understand it. Are you on reticulated water, which is mains water, means it comes through a network of pipes to the house, or are you on a rainwater system, or are you on a bore water system? So you've just got to know...
Hang on, what's a bore water system?
A bore water is just like a well that would be drilled down through the ground.
That's a bit old-fashioned, isn't it? Do you know any houses that, here's your water, go to the well and bring it up on a bucket?
Well, you asked me what it was. I was just trying to tell you it was an artesian well, but
yes,
not Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, was it?
That's right. Are there any houses in New Zealand with a well and a bucket?
No.
Right, okay, so we can disregard
it's a well. It's not a bloody wishing well, is it?
Okay, so you get to the house. Luckily, you see a tap.
Check out, see if there's that little round thing with, like, drop your money in here. And somebody, Jack and Jill...
No, but the rainwater thing is a good point, because we're on rainwater, aren't we? We're on tank water.
Yeah, you have.
And it's a flipping nightmare if it's a sunny, hot summer.
That's what I'm trying to say. So, if you've got a family of 3 or something like that, and you're just thinking, how big is the actual rainwater tank? They're normally 5,000 gallons or 22,000, 25,000 litres. Have you got 1 tank or 2 tanks? Is it filtered? It's very, very important that you filter it and UV sterilise it. A lot of Kiwis tend not to.
Oh, Bri, this question, it's funny you should bring this up, Bri, because this question came up on the chat the other day, and they were like, I think it was Lizel from, what's that place called? Dubai. And she was saying about how that she'd heard that, you didn't have to filter your water in New Zealand, and could you just drink the tap water? Yeah, loads of people drink their tap water and it isn't filtered, just to be clear about that.
Yes, no, it's true. Me as a plumber, I'd recommend you filter everything that comes into your house, because you're actually ingesting it. So
yeah, but not everyone's like you, though.
No, but there's chemicals and things put into the water anywhere in the world, to keep it stop it stagnating in the pipes and stuff. So there is a bit of normally chlorine stuff added to it, and sometimes there's a bit of calcium to protect the steel pipes to stop the reactive galvanic action.
Okay, so you walk into the house, you see the tap, you're really happy that you're not going to be lugging the bucket up, and you say, okay, is this mains water, or are we... So if they're in the middle of town, it's going to be mains water, isn't it?
You would think so, but some places do still have a rainwater tank as well, just to keep the cost down, and they look at it as a bit more eco as well sometimes.
So you would say, is this a rainwater? Are you a mains water or is this tank water?
Yeah, you'd say reticulated for New Zealand. Reticulated means mains water. It means a network of pipes. That's all reticulation means.
Do you not say mains water in New Zealand?
No, it's reticulated gas or reticulated water.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it takes a time. Well, because you've never really dealt with it, have you?
No.
I'd never heard of the word reticulation really before I came here.
No, it's a good word, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reticulation.
Yeah.
Well, ask if they've got reticulation.
Reticulated water, reticulated gas, reticulated drains.
Yeah.
That just
and
means
when
it's on the
they
mains.
say, oh, yeah, we've got tanks.
Water,
we've got tank water. You're on the rain water. In other words, you'll be drinking the water that comes out of the sky and goes in the tank. Just make sure you ask, how big are those tanks?
Yeah, that's it. Is it an underground tank or is it above ground tank? 9 times out of 10, they're above ground. So you'll see the big plastic tank somewhere in the garden, or a concrete tank. And just ask what type of filtration. If they say it hasn't got any, then you just think about, maybe having a water sample taken or something like that.
Oh, Bri, really?
Well, do you want
having a water sample taken?
What are you going to do?
Wait.
People get ill with bad water.
Oh,
there could be possums in there. There could be rats in there. There could be all sorts.
But
that's what most people do. And I'm telling you, these are the things that you need to look out for.
I know, but okay, all right then.
Yeah, it's like you can turn around and go, "Oh, it's not important," but you're actually drinking it. You're gonna
if I was
put
buying
your kids,
the
you're gonna
house,
let your kids drink it.
Yeah,
No different. No different if you're renting it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, then when we rented Trish and Mark's, how come you didn't say I want a water sample?
Well, because it was mains.
Oh, Brian.
Reticulated.
Thank you.
There you go.
Get the terminology right, please, plumber.
Yeah. And so you remember Matt from down the road who rented Lex's mum and dad's old house? Yeah. Well, that had actually that rainwater system, and it had farm water, river water going in it as well.
Mm.
How bad was that?
Yeah.
So you've just got to be really careful. Like, we've been on that river water for years. And it's like, well, really, with all the runoff from the fields and stuff, you're going to want to be drinking that.
All right, then. So you ask for you say, is it filtered? And hopefully, I'm hoping that it will be.
Yes.
Okay. And the other big thing to remember is, like we just said, and this only because we know firsthand about this, if you're coming over with a family of 4 kids and there's 6 of you, you don't want to be going and renting or buying a property with a tiny little rainwater tank.
And some of them are
be
tiny.
Running out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what, Bright? It stresses me out in the summer. Every summer we have to listen to it, don't we? If
Yep.
there's more than 4 sunny days in Taranaki, we have to hear about, turn that shower off, we're going to run out of water.
Yeah. It might be a long summer.
Stop running the tap while you're cleaning your teeth.
Yeah. Well, it's those things, because it's important, because you can get, a tanker to come around and fill you up with water.
It's dear, isn't it?
Well, it's about $700, yeah.
Exactly.
So it's up to you. And it's only, it's not a full tank when they bring it round. It's about 7,000 litres or something like that. So it's up to you how much how much you want to use the water. I mean, if it's got a really big blasty shower in the rental property, then it's going to use a lot of water. So,
do you know what I love, Bri?
What?
Those big rainwater showers. When you stand under them and it's like being in the rain.
Yeah.
I'd love one of those showers.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on then. Anything else?
Hey?
Yep.
Right, next one is drains. So what's the drains connected to, that as in the sewer system?
What's that smell?
Yeah, is that the septic tank? Yeah. So has it got a septic tank, or has it got reticulated drains, or has it got an eco tank system or a tiger worm system or something like that? That's something that eats the poo, or one that aerates the poo, and then it goes down to an effluent field. So you just want to know who's responsible for emptying it, or if it gets blocked up, or what happens, is it up to you to get it emptied, or is it up to the landlord? It's normally the landlord that would sort all that out. Or is it just on, reticulated drains and mains drains?
Yeah.
So just the things that you've got to look for, and ask them where the septic tank is, in case the kids are playing around it or whatever, you want to keep them away. I don't know. It's not that.
You can push them in.
Yeah, you could always push them in. Go for a swim. Yeah.
Oh, I'm being a bit silly today. Right, okay,
Yeah.
get my sensible head on, because I can see that you're very serious about this.
Yeah, so that's the question.
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. Oh, sorry,
yes,
go on.
is ask about the drains.
Right.
All right.
Is there a property in New Zealand that has a well with a bucket and a toilet with some worms in the bottom of it eating the poo?
Probably somewhere.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Because some places,
if you went down, deep in the middle of the forest in Wanaka or something, where they're all really hippie and stuff.
A lot of these, these glamping places are like that, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, we went to that place that we had that toilet.
Composting toilet.
Yeah, composting. I didn't like that.
Do you know some people are going that way because, and it's just like, oof, are they clean? I don't know.
It reminds me of cat litter.
Yeah, but where'd you put it all? Supposed to compost.
When you
There's tons
sprinkle
of the
fresh
stuff.
cat litter on the thing, that's what it reminds me
How
of.
big a garden have you got?
But then again, it is eco, so of course we're very eco.
Well,
so
obviously.
we promote that.
It can take 2 years for it to compost properly. Anyway.
Okay, so that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So next
Do you
one.
think you should flush the hang on, sorry.
Go on.
Do you think that when you're looking around a rental property, it's a good idea to turn? I've seen people doing this, and I always wonder why.
Well, you're jumping the gun now, aren't you?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Should you flush the toilet?
You can flush the toilet, flush it, and see how long it takes to fill up. Yeah. You can have a little poo as well. Let's see if it goes down.
Wait a minute, just wait in the kitchen. I've just got to do something.
Yeah. There's an extractor in here.
All right, go on.
Anyway, so the next one is plumbing. Okay, so ask about the plumbing. What type of? Well, this is more. What type of plumbing has it got? Has it got? Basically, is it a hot water cylinder? Is it as they call them over here, infinities, which is a continuous flow hot water? So, as long as there's gas going into the boiler, it will keep running hot water, like, a bit like a combi boiler as you have, in the UK and stuff like that. So it's just an instantaneous hot water heater that just keeps it going. Continuous flow, or they call it an infinity over here, which is a brand. It's a bit like saying a Hoover, a vacuum cleaner.
What's best?
What's best, and has it got a solar hot water system, or has it got a heat pump hot water cylinder? So there's all those type of heating, because heating hot water is the biggest use of energy in any house in the world, basically. And we all need hot water. So if you've even got a super eco house, you're finding heating hot water for everything. It is always the biggest draw on any of the systems, So just ask what type of hot water system it is. 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be an electric hot water cylinder, which is
that where there's a tank? It fills
it's just
up,
a tank.
you switch the switch on.
You switch the switch. Some are on they call a ripple relay, which is like when a bit like Economy 7 that we used to have in the UK. At times of low energy consumption, it will come on and switch on, and you get cheaper rates. But it's still going to cost you probably $200 at least a month to heat the hot water that way. Well, gas can be like $50. Hot water heat pump can be even cheaper. And
if you were, I know this is a little bit off topic, but if someone was building a house now and they said, okay, we want the bestest, the cheapest, the most efficient, and I never want to run out of hot water, but I don't want it to cost me a lot of money. What would you? And what should I put in, Brian? Should I put in a water tank and a switch that turns it on and heats it up? Hang on, I haven't finished. Or should I put on? Should I put in one of these that's continuous from the gas?
Well, you just said you don't want to run out of hot water.
Yes, I don't.
All right. So do you want to be eco? Or
No,
do you just want to let the hot water run down the drain?
I just want a nice hot shower.
Well, in your house,
under my rainwater shower.
In your house,
Me and the worms.
I would put a continuous flow in. It's not the most eco, but the most eco way to go in New Zealand really now is a hot water heat pump. To be honest,
is it?
It's just with regulations regarding solar panels and things like that, as in. Evacuated tubes, they're called, which uses hot water to go through them, heats it up off the sun, and it gives you hot water back to the cylinder. Just the health and safety with getting up to repair those and look after them yearly can be quite expensive. So the cost of maintenance outweighs the cost of the hot water heat pump, which basically just uses the warm air in the environment to harvest the energy from that. And put it into the hot water.
Do you know what I wish?
You're confused now, aren't you?
Yeah. Do you know what I wish we'd done, Bri?
What?
When we built our house 10 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
11 years ago.
It was 10 years. Yeah, 11 years.
I wish we'd gone and put those solar panels on the roof.
Do you know what? I'm glad we didn't, because they weren't as good as what they are nowadays. And they're a lot cheaper nowadays, and they would probably now need replacing,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you said when we put them when we were discussing putting them on, you said it'll take 10 years for that to pay itself back.
Yeah, back then, but now the payback.
Now here we are, 10 years later.
Yeah, the payback's coming a lot cheaper now,
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so
all right.
There's lots of, but just look for what hot water system that it's got, and staying on the plumbing thing. It's like, what's the water pressure like?
Yeah, that's important.
Because if you're on a pump, is the pump noisy? Is it underneath the house, or is it in the garage?
You don't want a piddly shower.
No, you don't, and that's the thing, isn't it? And just so a lot of the hot water cylinders are low pressure hot water cylinders in New Zealand, and that just means that your shower is going to be a bit of a dribble. So and just make sure that, move it from hot to cold, and make sure it doesn't go red hot one moment and then freezing cold and you move it over the other bit, because sometimes they have an imbalance of the pressures and it's not set up right. So you just got to be aware of that, or, run the shower and flush the toilet and see if it goes red hot or something. So just check out those things, because these are important things which just make your life so much happier. I'm not saying that if it's a house you really, really want, you don't really care.
No, because you would just sort it out once you bought it.
It's just a list of things. It's check out what is it like. Ask about the plumbing, and just see what's what. If you see a copper pipe sticking out the roof, it's a straight copper pipe that goes up. There's no insulation on it, no lagging. That's.
But Brian, say if you went to rent a house and you walked in, you'd used the bathroom, came out and said, right, I've just turned the tap on to wash my hands and the pressure is very, very low. I don't want to rent this house unless you sort that pressure out. Do they have to?
No, they wouldn't have to do anything. I'm just saying these are the things that you want to look for, because once you've signed the contract, there's no going back, But
can they do anything about that anyway?
No, but you're aware of it.
Right.
So you don't get upset. And there might be another house that you think, oh, I love that other one. It's got everything, that one. I know it's not quite as nice a house or whatever it is, but it's going to be better for us for the first 6 months in New Zealand or whatever it is,
Remember, if you're moving to New Zealand and you're looking for an immigration advisor to help you with all the process, the company we recommend are NZ Shores. The guys over there are absolutely brilliant. Loads of members of our NZ Ahead private community use them, and they have raved about them, and that's why we recommend them. The brilliant thing about NZ Shores is they offer a free assessment. So if you're wondering whether or not you're eligible to move to New Zealand, you go to their website, you fill out a form, and they will contact you and tell you whether or not it's worth moving forward and how they can help you. And that's absolutely free. The way you can get to that assessment form is by going to www.nzshores.com/Liz. So that's nzshores.com/Liz. Go over there, fill out the form, and you will be in such good hands with NZ Shores.
Great point. Next point.
So next point, staying on the plumbing route is...
Oh, God. We're still on the plumbing?
Yeah. The house that you're renting should comply with the Healthy Homes Act. There might be the odd one if it's a super old house that they've got a sort of a thing that can let them off doing it, so they don't have to, because they can't, it's physically impossible to do the walls or whatever it is, but just... It's very rare nowadays that it should be, because it should have underfloor insulation if it's on piles. It should have wall insulation in the walls, and it should have insulation in the roof. They've got to have those things to rent the house now in New Zealand, and it must have a way to heat the living room, and they must do a calculation on that living space to say that to keep it, and this is what's crazy, it's only got to be 18 degrees when it's 0 degrees outside, or wherever you are in the country. If you're down south, then it can be -4 or 5, depending on where you are in the country. And you ask to see that heat loss calculation that they've done, and it's to be a printed out piece of paper from the government or from a heating professional that says you need, say, 3 or 4 kilowatts in your living space. And it can't be just a plug-in heater that you can wheel around and take into room to room. It's got to be fixed to the wall, a proper heater, or a wood burner, or a heat pump, or something like that. So just check out that living area. Bedrooms, they don't care about, and the bathrooms, they don't care about.
Right.
So when you come, if it says, it's got heating, it will only be that living space, more than likely.
So what have they got to ask for again?
What's the heating? And ask for the heat loss calculation for the house.
The heat loss calculation for the house.
Yeah.
And that will show that they're going to have sufficient heating throughout the house.
And it just says, it will say your living room, say it's 2 kilowatts or 3 kilowatts, 1 kilowatt, whatever it is, that if the wood burner has got to have that much power in it, which most wood burners do, or the electrical fire that they've got there for you has got to have that heat output suitable for that room. Or the heat pump has got to be, a 3 or 4 kilowatt heat pump. Or the gas fire has got to be a 3-4 kilowatt gas fire.
Can I just say, I'm just going to interrupt and just say, and then we'll carry on. If you're completely confused and you're just, your head is swimming and you're part of our membership group, please, they can just reach out to you, can't they, Brian?
They can reach out to me. And this list that I'm reading off, it's quite a good list
Brian,
to go off
it's
it.
a
So you've got to
list.
get into the group to get hold of it.
Yeah, Brian's printed it off. So if you are a part of the membership and you're sitting here thinking, I wish I had a list of this, go to the frequently asked questions tab and it's in the resource page. And if you can't find it, just direct message me or Brian and we'll send it.
And it's in the 5-day video guide.
Yeah.
We'll put it in there as well.
Yeah. No, not the 5-day, the proper moving to New
sorry,
Zealand
not the 5. Yeah,
not the free one.
Yeah, it's not the free one.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, then next.
So the next one is so we've covered heating, and just make sure that it's got the ventilation. So it's supposed to have cooker ventilation. So a decent extractor, not just one that recirculates. It's supposed to be 125 mil hole out and through, unless it's an older house. Might be 100 mil hole, but it's got to have proper ventilation. It can't just have a recirculating extractor. That's in the kitchen. So to get rid of cooking smells
is that right?
and moisture out the house.
Well, how would you know if it went out the roof and it's not
Well, you
recirculating?
just have a look and look outside. Make sure it's doing it.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't hold your hand above the extractor and it's just recirculating.
It might be a good idea just to bring some chips along and just get
You
frying
could fry
pan
some
out.
chips while you're having a poo. And then,
My husband's just in the bathroom, but I'm just going to make a spot of lunch.
yeah, but it's to stop moisture in the house. This is what it is, because so much moisture comes out, you're cooking, like, and the bathroom has got to have a proper extractor fan as well. As in where the showers are.
Can't just open the window.
Yeah, and that's in if it's got an ensuite as well. So it's got to have.
This stuffed up loads of people,
Oh,
Brian,
well, it would have
when they're
done.
renting their house out.
Yeah, well, but it's up to that's what landlords need to get their arses into gear.
Quite right
instead
as
of
well.
renting
Instead of-
rubbish.
yeah, instead
because they
of-
buy a little house and think, I'll rent this.
Yeah.
And they haven't done anything to it.
No.
They stick a load of students in it. It's not fair.
No, it's not fair.
No.
Thank goodness we comply with all these rules.
Well, our house was built.
I know.
Once your house was built after 2009, it's like you almost comply because that's what the building regulations were. They all changed in 2009. Insulation and everything should be sorted out. The heating should be sorted out. But like I say, it's only in the living area, which to me is crazy. Yeah. Anyway, the next thing is ask about the communications, the internet, the phones.
Very important.
Well, yeah, watch your mobile phone signal
if
like
you've got
at home.
kids.
Because you might arrive at the house, you've got 0 bars. You need to change your provider to have internet access, not internet, but mobile phone access at home because, it's important, I think. So it's just check it. Basically, the internet, has it got fiber? You need to know if it's available because, you can request to have fiber installed in the house. That's fine.
At your cost.
Yes, but it can be at the
What's
landlord's
fibre
cost.
again?
Fibre is just
Really fast internet.
fibre optics. Yep. I mean, there are and so you've got to look at is what are the options. It's copper wire coming in, which is just normally low speed basic internet. You've got your high speed internet, which is normally the fibre optics. If you're rural, you could be wireless. So you just got to ask what sort of wireless system have you got. Yeah, but that's the thing.
Worms.
But we're on wireless, aren't we? Yeah.
Dial up.
Yeah, or you can always go down the Elon Musk's Starlink because that's
brilliant.
A few of the guys on Emil down in Dunedin, he's using it. And
is he?
Yeah. And so we talked about it over the last sort of 6 months a year about Starlink and saying that it's
What, you and Emil?
Yeah, and Bert as well from Belgium. And because Emil's from Holland and he's gone out and bought the package, which is, I think it's all in all, it costs the install, which they just sent it in a box. I think it's about 2,000 or 1,800, 2,000 New Zealand dollars and around about 160 to 190 dollars a month, depending on what you want to do. Because they have an RV package. So if you've got an RV, a motorhome, you can have fantastic internet anywhere in New Zealand. And it's 200 a month, but I think it's about 160 a month. It's unlimited data. The speeds that Emil was getting was 360 megabits down a second.
Is that good?
Which is fantastic, yeah.
He lives in Dunedin, though. That's the mega city of the internet.
This is coming from the
stars.
The satellites, yeah. And his upload was about 60 megabits a second.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, low latency. So it's brilliant.
Okay, so what if you went to a house? That's the other. Well, I've got two parts to this question, please. I'm going to see a house and it's really idyllic, and you go down a really long, steep drive down to it. It's in the woods down in the bottom of the valley.
Yeah.
Am I going to be thinking no internet?
Yeah, you might not get Starlink. You get an app on the phone, which basically it just uses your camera and you just point it at the sky and you move it around a little bit and it'll go, yep.
Okay, so say I can't get the Starlinks.
Yep.
And there's no internet down there.
Yep.
What can I do?
Well, it's not a lot you can do unless there's a
what do I
couple
say
wire
to-
down there.
what do I say to
Ask
the
them
people?
what have they got for that's what I'm saying. I've asked about the communications.
Right. But is there anything you can do to, because I know like when we haven't had internet in the past, there's always something you manage to do
normally
that gets us internet.
rural wireless will do. If it's like, you might have to, I don't know, they might have to run a cable 200 metres up the road or something. I don't know. It all depends how big the property is. And is there someone broadcasting to you, like, you know? So,
I've forgotten my second half of the question now. I was going to ask you something else, but I've forgotten what that was.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, but that Starlink is pretty good. You know, because not many places have got
Are we going to
tree
get
that much.
Starlink, do you think?
No, because we're running off the.
We've got good.
We've got
internet,
good
haven't we?
Wi-Fi because we're running off the Koru Co-op, which is.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you.
It's a high-speed internet provider.
If you saw a house, Bri, and it was right next to one of those,
Cell towers.
Yeah, that's it. Is that dangerous?
Well, I don't know.
Would you buy a house that was right next to a cell tower?
Probably not.
No,
because
why?
I don't know, because there's a lot of radio waves coming off those things. It's all right when you get away from
It's
them.
like putting your
a
head in the
little bit.
microwave, isn't it?
Yeah, you wouldn't really want to do that,
No.
would you? No.
But
No.
if you are buying a house that's next to a cell tower, then that's fine.
Yeah,
because
but it depends how big that cell tower is, like, you know. But realistically, the small ones in towns are all low power, so, you know. Yeah, I really don't know. It's something I can't comment on because there's lots of people that would like to comment on it and saying, oh, you know, but aren't we funny? We've had radio signals flying around everywhere, haven't we? You know, ever since Radio 1 was broadcasting and the BBC.
it's the ether, isn't it, Bri? It's the ether.
Yep.
Right,
I mean,
okay,
yeah.
next question then.
Anyway, yep. Because it is only
Just
one.
say that if anyone asks you.
It is only
Just
one
say that.
signal going out with thousands of channels on it, like, you know, digital channels. So it's not. Yeah, digital is a lot better than what the analog
I thought you
used
just
to
said
be.
you didn't want to comment.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
All right.
Yeah. So
Next then.
next thing is it's windows as well. I was looking at cladding,
Are
but
they
that's more if you're buying a house as cladding and stuff like that. Well, what's the house made of, basically? So it doesn't really matter, you know, what the house is made of if you're renting, because you don't really have to look after it because you know the landlord must look after the house. I mean, you've got to keep it clean and normally mow the grass.
So what do you mean when you come to windows then?
So windows. Ask about the windows. Lots of the older houses are all single glazed. Yeah, and even the double glazing in New Zealand is not that brilliant. But the only thing is, the double glazing offers a slightly better bit of thermal resistance, you know, as in insulation to the house. But the main thing is about the windows is the landlord has to make them not drafty. Okay, that's part of the healthy homes. There can't be any bad drafts coming through the floor, coming through the windows, or coming through the doors.
What if they've just got one of those like sausage dog
No,
cushion
it's
things?
got a proper draft
Has
excluding.
it? Can't just say, oh, look, there's nothing.
So you
coming through
just
that.
check that out, because if it just gets very windy in New Zealand, if it is windy, then you know you're going to have a windy, cold house because it's going to blow all the heat out. So you know it's just stuff like that.
So just check the windows and make sure they're insulated. No, what was it? Draft.
All being draft proof properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
I mean, you can't really tell if you go in the summer and it's a nice day, but you'll see them visually around the draft exclusion.
Is there any
and stuff
trick
like
that you can do, like a little trick, just while the estate agent is just out the room, that you can just maybe? Is there like a?
Well, take some feathers with you, and then just drop a feather in front of the window, and if it gets blown away, then you know
that's
it's
a good
drafty.
idea. Oh, that's a good idea, right?
Remember Everest Windows?
Well done.
That was their advert, wasn't it?
was it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. That's a really good tip. That.
There you go.
Okay. Good. Good
Yeah.
boy.
So
Next.
next, I mean, I've got like spouting gutters and stuff like that. It's more for buying a house. The next one is parking.
Oh yeah.
You know, where are you going to park? How many cars have you got? Have you got 2 cars? Is it
Make
on?
or break your life, that can't
Yeah,
it, Bri?
it can. Because, you know, you come home at night, you've been working all day and someone's in your parking
Nothing
space.
worse, is there?
No, it's horrible. Or you
Flipping
come back
hate
with your
it.
shopping, it's like, you know, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just check out the road that it's on and what's the parking like. Has it got off-street parking? Most Kiwi properties tend to have off-street parking, but some of them can just be on street. So just be careful. Has it got a garage? Is the garage big enough to put both your cars in?
Do the Kiwis tend to put their cars in garages?
They do. A lot of the, because cars used to be pretty hopeless, didn't they? Nowadays, a car can kind of stay out, but lots of people use the garages. If you've bought a house which is, the last 20 years, it's probably got an electric garage door open on it as well.
Do you know what made me feel really posh, Brian, when we built our house?
Yeah.
When we built it, we've got a garage that's attached to the house, like it's part of the house. What's it called? Internal garage. Integral, isn't it? And we had, and I'd never heard of this before, we had carpet laid in the garage, didn't we? Couldn't believe it. Yeah. It's a special sort of carpet, isn't it, that goes in garages?
Yeah, it's quite water resistant, and it can get wet, but it doesn't it's not got an underlay on it. It's just like a nylon mesh, isn't it?
We don't use our garage to put our cars in, though, do we?
No, we don't. No, we never have. No, because we use it as a gym, really. We've
used it as a gym, and also all our utilities in there. Our washing machine, tumble dryer.
I had a big fan, so it wouldn't fit it anyway.
No.
Yeah, wouldn't have even got.
So look for parking, because that's really important. There's nothing worse as well. Do you know what? I hate it when people do this. When you've got your own little parking, thing up to the road, and some clever little
dicky
person comes and just parks on this. I'm talking about England now. This has never happened to me in New Zealand, and they just park, don't they? So you can't quite get out.
Yeah.
They've
just, they make it so they can get out and no one else can get in.
They're not blocking your entrance, but they're also just coming a little bit too further over. And also, we used to live in this terraced house in Newquay in Cornwall. Because it was a tourist town. What was
Summer
that
was a nightmare,
like?
wasn't it?
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, and people would just park outside your house because it was free parking, and then go and walk to the hotel and just leave it there all week.
Yeah. And do you remember some people as well? I mean, this is going off topic. Some people would park in the car outside our house and sleep in their car, and then walk up the side of our lane.
Yeah, we against the house.
Use it as a public toilet.
Yeah, well, you're right.
It's just awful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Why did we live there?
Well, you have to buy a house somewhere.
That was our first house. Yeah. I'm glad we bought it. It was nice, but it was just horrible in the summer. But something to
just don't like
for.
things like that. It's just not nice, is it?
No, it's not, Brian. No. Not nice at all.
We go. So, going through things again: location, water, drains, plumbing, electrical. That's one thing we didn't talk about.
Oh, no.
It's the electrical, isn't it?
I was going to say, we're not done yet, are we? I thought we'd be here for hours.
No, well, just go on with the electrical. Just check out the electrics, because a lot of the older places have rewirable fuses, and it's like looking. The fuse board is like looking at something out of Frankenstein's laboratory, because it just it can be pretty shocking. So if you get like a power failure or a fuse blows, then it's going to be a bit of a pig to rewire it. The fuse has gone out. So breakers are so much better and they're a lot safer. Especially with the.
So what should they be looking for?
Just
when
look
they go
how
in?
new the fuse board is.
Right, and can they
distribution
request?
Board.
Oh, this is a bit of an old banger. I want this replacing.
Well, you're going to see it straight away because you're going to look at it and think, "My goodness, I've never seen that before." In America, you don't see stuff like that really, unless you're, I don't know, in some old ancient.
So what would
place.
they do about it if it was just a mess?
Well, again, it's just something to look out for.
Just to be aware of.
Are you sure that you're happy with that? Like, you're going to be plugging your fantastic computers into it, and there's no proper, apart from a huge big. 16 amp wire fuse burning out on an overload only, then
hang on, I'm confused. What are you talking about? So you're sitting there with your computer, and what would happen?
Well, that's why a lot of
if they had a power cut, would it blow their computer up?
No, it wouldn't blow the.
What are we worried about then?
What I'm saying is about the safety of what you're plugging into things. Like I mean,
could you get an electric?
There's a lot of electronic stuff nowadays that those fuses just aren't great. Like there were breakers and trips. And ground fault and RCDs, if there's a slight fault when you plug it in, it'll just trip the main breaker, doesn't it?
To keep you safe.
Just to keep you safe,
right.
Yeah. Whereas these things, it's like, especially when you're plugging heaters in around the house, and then all of a sudden the lights go out, or whatever, I'm just saying, it's just something to look at because.
Remember in the olden days, Bri, when I don't know if you ever had this because you came from quite a wealthy family, but I came from quite a poor family, and my mum and dad sometimes they couldn't afford extra plugs, so they used to have. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember, Brian?
Oh, no.
It was like a wire with just the wires coming out of the end of it.
Yeah.
And you'd stick it into you'd say, oh, I want to plug this in, but it hasn't got a plug in. And they'd just say, oh, yeah, I'll just use this plug. And you'd stick it into the holes with your fingers. How safe was that?
It's terrible.
You'd stick it into the holes with your fingers and then quickly ram another plug on top of it to hold it in place. Did you ever used to do that?
Yeah, we used to do that, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because on the English plugs, the top one, it would push, there's the earth one, which is slightly longer. And as you push that in, it drops the gates on the live and neutral. And so then, sometimes you'd stick a screwdriver into the top one and push them in so they're in a bit more. So when you plug it in, it would work. Yeah. And the plugs used to be metal all the way back
dangerous.
out. Now they've got little bits of plastic on them to stop you doing that, So if the plug's slightly out, you can't get a shock off it. But yeah, no, we used to do that. Yeah.
That's very, very good points then, that, Brian.
Yeah, and just see if it's got a pay-as-you-go meter. Some of the places do have, you have to go down to the Foursquare and get it charged up.
For what? Your electric?
For electric, yeah.
I prefer that idea because you know where you are then.
Yeah,
you don't get a whopping great big bill at the end of it. But I don't think, does anyone have that anymore, Brian? Did they do that?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. You see them in Foursquare with the keys.
Right, that was a big thing in England, wasn't
because
it?
what it is some of the tenants would actually leave and leave it with a big bill and not paying it to the landlord.
It's a good way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, so some of them do that. So just be careful because it's more expensive to pay for getting electric that way.
Okay.
And the last thing is gas. There's not a lot of reticulated gas in New Zealand, mainly in Auckland and Wellington and Hamilton and a few cities like that.
My mum's on reticulated gas.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, but that's because it's the Naki, which is the capital, the energy state of New Zealand. So there is quite a bit of reticulated gas in.
What a good job you live there then.
It is, yeah.
Did you know that when you went for your job there?
No.
That it was the capital of the gas?
No, it's where most of the gas comes from New Zealand.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And there you are.
There's a big pipeline up to
living
Auckland.
On the hill.
Yeah, down to Wellies.
Knowing everything.
And then it's only LPG in the South Island, even though you can get reticulated LPG, which I'll give up. What's it like trying to do a podcast with you?
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Then, isn't it, Brian?
You might be on bottled gas, kind of expensive, especially for heating, but not too bad for hot water.
We're on bottled gas.
Yeah.
Our bottled gas heats the hot water.
Yeah.
And what else? The heating
and the radiators in the bedrooms.
How much does it cost us a month?
In the winter,
it's not cheap, is it, Brian?
No, it's about say $200 to $300 a month just for gas.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Depends. We normally go through at least 2 bottles a month, but that's about it, really. I suppose. And we only, a wood burner in the living room. We have got underfloor heating in there, but I prefer the wood burner. To be honest.
We don't use it, do we?
Yeah. So again, just look out because it's all expense, and
Okay, before we go then, because some of you may know and some of you may not, we're currently renting our house. We're away traveling in Europe, and we are renting our house out. We rented our house out for 6 months to a lovely lady who's really looking after it. If she phoned us up now and said, plug's not working.
Yeah.
Is it our responsibility?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Okay. What about if she phoned us up and said...
The basic things you go through them is, are all the breakers up?
Right.
So you talk to them first before you call your electrician out.
Because she's just phoned us, hasn't she, and said the lawnmower's broken.
Yeah. And
that's our responsibility to fix that. Actually, Brian, you should say about that before we go. What's the responsibility if you're renting a house? Yeah. Is it your job as a renter to look after the garden,
it
or is it the
depends what's in the contract.
Oh, okay.
Because when you go to look at it, you just say, what do I have to do to the garden? And they might say, oh, it's part of the rent, or, it's no, you have to cut the grass. That's what you have to really worry about. You can say in the contract, gardening, you have to do the gardening, as in pull the weeds up and do that. But that would have to be something you negotiate, So either comes off the rent or... you're happy that you're going to do that work. That's part of whatever's in, and the other thing is a lot of people have pets and things. So you just got to check, do they take pets?
Do you know what? I just want to say about that, because we've had lots of people on the chat within the group saying, oh yeah, I'm coming over and I'm bringing my dog, and I'm really disheartened because lots of places just say no dogs. Listen, we've just rented our place and we ticked no dogs, and then in the description we said we're willing to negotiate. Just bear that in mind, because when we rented ours, who does want millions of dogs turning up? But the lady we rented it to, she's got a lovely dog. We chatted to about her dog. She said, oh, she's really well trained. You know, she's a lovely dog. And we were just like, yeah, it's no problem. So don't write it off just because you see it on Trade Me and it says no dogs. Do not write that off as being a no-goer, because you can talk to the landlord, that like the lady did with us, and just negotiate. Kiwis are so flexible, and yeah, I just wanted to say that. I think it's important.
And if it's got an internal garage, they might be happy with the dog to live in the garage or something like that. You know, I don't know, just something on down those sort of routes, like, you know.
Yeah.
There might, like Liz said, there might be. Oh, door's just closed.
So what?
So there might just be.
Oh, Brian. Room for manoeuvre.
Yeah,
is the word for it, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
By the way, before we go, I just want to say that there is something that you've missed on your list, so I'm going to add to this.
Okay.
Now, always check to see about your rubbish collection, because see,
yeah,
it's not on your list, is it?
No,
it's important, Bri.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Well, it is.
Because
especially if you're rural,
yeah,
because it might be no rubbish collection.
Well, I'm only telling you this because we literally a year ago they stopped taking our recycling.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, no, we don't do recycling anymore.
Yeah.
Now we've got to put it in the car and take it into town. And I think it's something that you should ask about. Just like, what is your recycling procedure? How many? You know, when's your bit? When are your bins?
How
emptied?
big's the bin that you get? You know, and because it might be up to you to, if you want a bigger recycling bin, that you've got to pay for that. Like, you know.
Yeah. And it's funny because even throughout the region of Taranaki where we live, my mum, for instance, for her recycling stuff, they're so particular about it.
Well, you do. They get inspectors that go around and see what you're throwing out.
They have. They've got, and if it's not washed properly, and if the jars aren't in that one, and the tins have got to be. Whereas when we were doing it, it was just you could just put. It just all went in, didn't it? As long as it was, we weren't allowed glass bottles. That was it.
No, that's the only thing we couldn't put. And soft plastic for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
Taranaki can't recycle soft plastic for some unknown reason.
So I think it's a good idea to ask about that.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question, Pricilla, and everyone else that's just thinking, I'm going to move to New Zealand and what do I look for when I'm renting a house?
No, and that's the thing. It's just open your eyes. And that's the biggest thing. It's a lot of it's common sense. But if you're not a tradie, then you're just thinking, oh, yeah, I love this place. You know, you get literally bamboozled by the lovely place, and then you forget about the basics, you know, even like what's the oven like? You know, what's the cooker like? Can I bear cooking on that for a family of 4? You know, if it's one of those spirally ring things on the hob, they're a nightmare, aren't they? They just burn everything inside. So, yeah. You know, has it got an induction hob? Is it gas? Is it electric? Is it ceramic? Are the kids going to burn themselves on it? Or it's just lots of things to look out for, you know. Is
there a law on how much deposit you've got to put down? Or
yes, I think it's normally, I think it's a month, that's all.
A month in advance.
A month in advance. And where the bond gets paid, you can ask for it to be paid into a government account, and then, you know, so the landlord's got no access to it without you, and vice versa. You've got no access for it, and so you have got to leave the place like you found it, or that's when you can start saying, "Well, I'm taking stuff out of your bond," you know, and things like that. It shouldn't get to that. You always have to pay in advance with your rent. So you know, just be aware that it could be a month or 6 weeks. Bond that goes in, and that has to be up front, and then you've got your rent as well, so it can cost you a lot of money.
Okay, so we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and as promised, we're going to give you details about joining the NZ Ahead membership group. That group is filled with just the most gorgeous people, all like-minded, adventurous people who are making the move to come from the other side of the world or wherever they're coming from. We've got people from America, UK, South Africa, all over Europe. All over.
Brazil.
There's lots and lots of people in there. And they've got one intention, and that is to make the move to New Zealand and do it together, basically. Just support each other.
Well, it is. I mean, you know, there's a guy called Warren who's, he's a guy, he's getting all his things ready to be a teacher here in New Zealand. He's on his own, and he just wanted a community to be here for him when he came here. You know, and we've got
I just want some friends for when I get there, and I just thought,
we've got a bunch of nurses that are on their own as well, and they're all in the group, and they're meeting up with other people, and you know, going from Wellington to Dunedin to have meetups and just make friends.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought the other day when I read Warren's introduction. It suddenly struck me this isn't a group. I mean, it is. It's a very helpful group. I mean, we do things like this. We're always answering questions. Everyone's always chatting and asking questions, and they get answered by people who live in New Zealand, and we share. Yeah. But more importantly, and I don't want to sound like cliched or anything like that, but it is. It's like a family.
It's a great group. I can't believe this community that we've created. It's just full of great people. There's lots of humour in there. There's lots of seriousness if you need to be.
Yeah.
But just generally, it's a lot of people just saying how their day's going and look at this. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
You know, and taking pictures of things, because there's a whole bunch of us living in New Zealand, and it's just you get to see what life is like in New Zealand as well.
And I think I might have said this before, but when me and Brian were in Belgium, we met up with our friend Bert and Lisa, who are both in the community. And something that Lisa said really stood out to me. She said, when you move into New Zealand, no one wants to talk about your family, your friends. They don't want to know. They don't want to talk about you moving to the other side of the world. Exactly. Yeah. You're just like, can we just not talk about New Zealand? And she said, and it felt so lonely and so, like alone. I just felt alone. And she said, and then I found your community. And she said, and every single person in that group is the same as me, is doing the same thing.
It's doing the same thing. And or have done the same thing. Yeah, it's that's it. You know,
so
we did
lovely.
it. What did we do it 13 years ago?
Yeah.
And it's still fresh in our mind.
Yeah.
You know, you still remember how you felt. And we had no one. There was no one, was there? Like,
no.
You know?
Anyway, so that's the community. I mean, I can't tell you any more than that. That is it. And you buy the membership and you get all these videos and private podcasts and lots and lots of other things, all about moving to New Zealand. So if you do want to become part of part of this membership group, you need to go and sign up at www.nzahead/free.
nzahead.com/free.
That's right.
So www.nzahead.com/free.
Yeah. Take the free 5-day video guide that we offer, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's free. So you've got nothing to lose. And then at the end of that, I think it's on day 5, you are offered the chance to become a member of the community. Yeah, and that's it. So maybe it will be you next time that sends us an audio message like Pricilla did and said, Liz, Brian, can you talk about this on the podcast? And we will make a podcast just for you. But until that day, it's been lovely chatting with you.
Yep.
And keep safe. And
kia kaha. So that means stay strong, and kia u, stay true, and keep on pushing. And let's see you over here in New Zealand.
Yeah, make
Come
that
on
dream
over.
happen.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
Yeah, it is a great place.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll speak to you soon.
See you soon.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. We have loved having you here with us.
If you love this week's show, please share this with your friends. Send it to anybody you know that wants to think about moving to New Zealand, and get on over here yourself.
And tell them how brilliant it is as well. And also, if you haven't signed up for our free 5-day video guide showing you what life is like, really like, in New Zealand, then go over to the website and sign up. You are missing out. This is brilliant. Go over to www.nzahead/free and we will send you 5 days worth of videos about what life is like in New Zealand. You are going to love it. So one more time, that website that you need to sign up for the free 5-day guide is www.nzahead/free. So we're going to see you next week. Until then, have a great week and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye again. Bye.
Bye.